Hi guys, Juice here. I am here to film a October wrap up for you guys. Today, as I just said, is going to be my October wrap up. In the month of October, I have read 12 books and I really enjoyed all of them except there's like 2 books that I didn't really enjoy, but we'll talk about those soon. I did started a book but didn't finish it, so I also talk about that book. I want to go over my reading stats for the month. This is all my info right here. I gave 0 1 stars, 0 2 stars, 2 3 stars, 5 4 stars, and 4 5-star reads. I had 0 arcs, 9 audiobooks. 5 of these were buddy reads, 2 of these were book of the month, 2 of these were completed series, 1 was a graphic novel, 2 of these was physical read, 1 of these was an owl crate, and 4 of these were library books, I think, if that's counted correctly. The page count, if it's updated, I don't know if I updated it yet. If not, I'll leave the correct information down below, is 3,459 pages. The biggest book I read this month was The House in the Korean, or actually, no, I lied. The biggest book I read this month was A Torch Against the Night by Saba Tahir, which I'll talk about later. And then the smallest book of the month, that I read was Teen Titan Beast Boys, which I will also talk about in this video. I'm going to jump into my wrap up, tell you what I read and what I thought of them. And these, if I can hold them, are all the books that I read in the month of October, and I'm real excited to talk about them. So I'm going to get them back in the order that I need them to be. A lot of these I don't have because they're library books. I think 6 of these are library books, I said. 5 of these. No, 4 of these. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 of these are library books. I definitely didn't update that. So the first book, I definitely gave a 5-star to this month, and I buddy read this with my friend Lori, and that is Sky Hunter by Marie Lu. This is the first book in a new series by Marie Lu, and this is her second novel that came out in 2020, and I really enjoy this one. This one follows our main character named Talon, and she is deaf, and she also can't speak. So she talks through sign language, and she goes, it says on the back, "My name is Talon. I'm a striker for Mira, the last free nation on this side of the sea. We are legendary bringers of death, assassins of monsters, and the only thing standing between our home and the annihilation." This is really hard to talk about, but I feel like it's such a fresh, book to read at this time just because it is an action-packed book. And I literally finished this. This is the first time that I finished a buddy read before someone else. I remember texting Lori being like, "I'm sorry, my friend, but I'm going to finish this book without you." And just look at this pretty cover. I can't get over how stunning it is. But yeah, Talon was an amazing main character. She was super badass. I just really wish there's a movie of this. And also, I want the sequel ASAP because it was a cliffhanger in here. But yeah, that's all I have to say about this one, and I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. And if you guys are new to my channel, and this is your first video that you're watching from me, sorry about that, because I'm really bad at summaries. So going on to the next book I read was for the Dragon and Tea book club book for the month of October. And that was Mexican Gothic by Silvia, Morona, Garcia. This one I read, like I said, for the Dragon Tea book club. I kind of participate in that book club just whenever the book pick is, and if I decide that I want to read it along with them or not. So I read along with this group this time, and I really enjoyed this one. I gave it like a 4 stars. It wasn't a 5-star like I thought it would be. I think it's because it took me a while to get into this book. The beginning of Mexican Gothic is really slow, but like halfway through the book, it definitely picks up. This is a book that I bought in July or August of this year from Book of the Month, so we love representation. This is own voices, but the funny thing is, this is not set in Mexico. For some reason, I thought this would be set in Mexico, but it's kind of set in the middle of nowhere. This follows our main character. It's been a while since I've read this book. Naomi, I don't know how to say it correctly. She gets this strange letter from her cousin saying that she's writing all this strange stuff, and so she goes and lives where her cousin is, and there's like haunted house type of thing going on, and so she experiences in the haunted house, and she doesn't believe everything that her sister says, and so she just kind of lives in this house that her sister is, and the house became part of our cast of characters that we had in here, which I thought was interesting. And the audiobook I did listen to, and it was kind of creepy, so definitely check out the audiobook if you want. I give this one a 4 out of 5 stars. The next book I don't have because I borrowed this from the library, and that is Well Played by Jen DeLuca, which I actually have the first book right here, Well Met by Jen DeLuca. I read this one earlier this year, and I finally read the sequel of Well Played, and this is an adult romance novel that I decided to pick up because I needed a pick-me-up book after reading those two very dark, heavy fantasy / mystery thrillers, and I picked this one up, and man, I was really happy with that I picked up Well Played. Well Played is the sequel / companion novel to Well Met, obviously, and we follow Stacy and her boyfriend. I forgot what her boyfriend name is, and we just follow them throughout their romantic lives during their I forgot what it was called, the fair. Yeah, the fair. Simon has this huge family, and they have this Renaissance fair, and that's where the first book takes place. And you do get to go back in the fair in the sequel, but there's like a lot more depth, thoughts, and details that Jen DeLuca put in, so I'm really happy that I picked up the sequel to Well Met this year. The next book that I want to talk about is one that I don't have because it's a library book, and that is The House in the Cerulean Sea by T.J. Cloon. I finally read this book, you guys. I actually want to shout out my friend Lori. I picked this book up on behalf of Lori because I really enjoyed what I read of it. I heard about this book going around through BookTube quite a while, and I loved it. I was laughing out loud. I was crying at the end. I never thought an adult, not really romance, it's more of like an adult contemporary, light contemporary. I don't know if that makes sense. But The House in the Cerulean Seas, I forgot who our main character is because I'm very bad at that. But we follow with this main guy who he lives in this like perfect normal world, and then he gets this opportunity to go off this island that everyone else hears crappy things about, and he goes there and experiences the best time of his life. He meets all these amazing characters, and I wish I took notes for this video just to like tell you all the things I loved about The House in the Cerulean Sea, but I really loved it. I recommend that. I also listened to that via audiobook, and I have it on Scribd, so I was able to listen to it, and I give it a 5 out of 5 stars. And that's by that was The House in the Cerulean Sea by T.J. Cloon. The next book I have is Date Me, Bryson Keller by Kevin Von Wayne, I believe. I'll leave all the information down below. I read this in like 2 days, almost 1 day really, but then work got in the way. So I read this in 2 days. I really enjoyed it. This is a new YA romance, or YA contemporary novel. If you love One of Us is Lying and Simon versus the Homo Sapiens Agenda, you would definitely love Date Me, Bryson Keller. Or if you haven't read those two books, but you want to, and you read that one, then do that, vice versa. Date Me, Bryson Keller follows, I forgot who the main character was, but we follow this boy who name is Bryson Keller, and he's like the most popular jock in the high school. And there's this challenge with all the seniors saying, if you can't date Bryson Keller by the end of this week, then I don't know what happens, like if your score go down or whatnot. But it's just really cute. It was really like heartwarming and kind of heartbreaking at some points too, because when the main character came out as gay, their family didn't really accept them, and so they got kicked out for that, and which I think is totally wrong. But I really enjoyed it. I felt some feelings reading this book. At first, I gave it a 5 stars, and then I changed it to a 4, and now it's sitting at a 3 stars. So this is going to be a 3-star read. And I will still recommend this book. I just don't know if it will be like a favorite book of 2020 for me yet. The next book I read, I buddy read this with my friend Heather, who I'll leave her Instagram down below, and that is Grown by Tiffany D. Jackson. This was my first book by Tiffany D. Jackson, and I really enjoyed it. It was super fast-paced. This was also another hard-hitting subject. There's actually trigger warnings for this book at the very beginning. It says, trigger warnings, mention of sexual abuse, rape, assault, child abuse, kidnapping, and addiction of opioids. So if any of those are harming triggers to you, don't read this book. I read this in like 2 days as well. Usually with my contemporary books, I can read them like 1 or 2 days. And I read this in 2 days. And I actually think Heather finished this one before I did. So Grown follows a main character named Enchanted, I was close. Enchanted Jones. She wants to be like the next American Idol type of thing. So she auditions for the singing competition, and then one of the like all-stars, like kind of like the Jay-Z of the story, is one of the judges of the panel that she's on, and they all say no to her. She gets upset, she goes backstage, and then that one like Jay-Z artist is kind of like saying, hey, you have a shot at this, and I said no to you just so you can like know what the word no means. And it's just heartbreaking as well. I don't really know how to explain this book. This one, I really enjoyed it. I read it super quickly. It was definitely heartbreaking, and I just repeated myself again. But yeah, this one is kind of hard to explain, but this is a new release that just came out in September, and I'm really happy that I was able to pick this book up and support a person of color. The next book that I read was for the Literary Dead book club pick that Kayla over at Books and Lala is running, and that is One by One by Ruth Rare. I read this one and I was kind of disappointed by this. I gave this one a 3.5 out of 5 stars, and I was really disappointed by this, and I will talk more about that in a few minutes because I don't want this clip to be long. So I read One by One by Ruth Rare, and I gave this one a 3.5 out of 5 stars, and this was really good, but it was also kind of disappointing because it felt rushed. The ending felt rushed in this. There was a lot of characters in here that I should have like taken notes on and pay attention to this. So if you haven't heard of this by now, One by One is Ruth Rare's newest novel, and I only read one book by her, so this one was kind of disappointing. So I'm nervous to read her other stuff and see if I will still like them or not. But this one is about a group of coworkers. They go on this snow hike, I guess. And yeah, it says getting snowed in at the luxurious Rascal ski lodge high in the French Alps doesn't sound like the worst problem in the world, especially when there's a breathtaking vista, a full-service chef, and a housekeeper, a cozy fire to keep you warm, and others to keep you company. Unless the company happens to be the 8 coworkers, each with something to gain, something to lose, and something to hide. And then this has like this app called Snoopers, I think is what it was, and you can like literally, if you have this app on your phone, you could like say you can listen to whatever Demi Lovato is listening to at the current moment. Like you get to hear what your favorite people are listening to at the current moment, which I thought was kind of a cool app to have, and I kind of wish we do have an app like that. There was a lot of character death in here that I wasn't expecting. I will keep this book just because I do have the Turn of the Key up here, I think. Yeah, the Turn of the Key is up there, right there. So I will be keeping this just to match my other one. I know that sounds kind of bad, but I am interested to see what anyone else from the Literary Dead book club thinks of this. And I can't remember what the live show is. Maybe I'll put it on the screen here, or I'll leave it down below. but I sadly was disappointed by this, and I give this one a 3.5 out of 5 stars. The next book I wanted to read was a short book after that mystery thriller, and that is Teen Titan Beast Boys by Kimmy Garcia and Gabriel Piccolo. This is a book that I featured in my September book haul. Actually, like, the first couple books that I talked about was in my September book haul, and I'm actually really happy that I read most of them. This is like a sequel / companion novel to Teen Titan and Raven, which I have over here on my shelf, and I love that one. I read it in exactly one day, and I read this one in one day too, and I actually finished this when I was at work. Sorry, guys. And I gave this one a 4 out of 5 stars. I thought this would be a 5-star read for me, but I just gave it a 4 stars just because I felt like I wanted to learn more about this character, and I felt like we got some backstory, but not enough. The artwork in here is amazing. I shown this off in my book haul, I think. But the cast of characters we have are super funny, and I just love each and every one of these characters. And I forgot, Garfield is a fantastic main character to read from, and I'm real excited to see what the third book will be involved with, because it features both Garfield and Raven together, so I'm real excited to see that. I think that one don't come out till 2021 though. So I read this, I give it 4 out of 5 stars. Was it my favorite book of the whole year? No. Will I still recommend this? Yes. Next book I read was a final book in a trilogy, and I'm sad that the series is finished now, and that is Night of the Dragon by Julie Kagawa. This is the third and final book in the Shadow of the Fox trilogy. I read the first book, I want to say last year or 2018. I think it was 2018. I read it in 2018, and then I was waiting for the sequel to come out, and it came out last year. And then this came out this year during the pandemic, and I was able to go to the bookstore during the pandemic. I probably shouldn't go to the bookstore during the pandemic, but I did anyways, just to pick this book up, because I knew I've been wanting to read this for a while, and I just was really happy with how this turned out. There was a character death in here that I was not expecting from one of our main characters that we know and love, and this one for me, as you guys know, sequels are really hard for me to talk about because I don't want to spoil you guys what happens in the first 2 books. Just know if you love the first 2 books, you would definitely love this, and this had a nice wrap up to it. This wrapped up the series nicely, and I give this one a 4 out of 5 stars. The next book I read was Kingdom of the Blazing Phoenix by Julie C. Dow. This was the second and final installment in the Forest of a Thousand Lanterns duology. I read the first book back a couple years ago, and I really enjoyed it, and then I wanted to buddy read this one with my friend Libby, who is an amazing person. You should check her out. I will leave her channel down below. Also, Lori has a booktube channel, so I'll leave her channel down below. And so we buddy read this together, and it took us about a week to read it just because of how busy I was with my work. And I really enjoyed it. I give this one a 5 out of 5 stars. I give this one a 5 out of 5 stars just because I felt like we dived deeper into this world, and we already knew like the cast of characters from the first book, which was featured in this one, and it was just like really cool to see those characters from book 1 to still be in book 2 storyline, even though our main character from book 2 is different than what we had in book 1, if that makes sense. This is a fairy tale retelling, I believe, of 1001 Nights for the first one. I don't know what the retelling is for this one. I'd have to look it up somehow. But I overall really enjoyed it. I was shocked by the ending, and I will definitely be reading the companion novel that is out to this series. So I gave Kingdom of the Blazing Phoenix a 5 out of 5 stars. Another book I gave a 5 out of 5 stars to was A Torch Against Night by Saba Tahir. This one was my only reread of this month, I think. Let's see. Yeah, I only reread one book this month. I read this for the Ember Buddy Read Along, which I'll leave the hashtag in the description box below if you want to follow. I am the host of this read along. We are going to be reading book 3 of the Ember Quartet series in November. It's a spoiler alert for my November TBR, which is actually like sitting right off the camera right here. So I'll be making that video tonight as well. But I loved A Torch Against Night. It's again hard to talk about because it is a sequel. But it leaves off right where we left off in the first book and continues on where we were in the second book. And this will be my first time reading A Reaper at the Gate, so I'm kind of nervous and excited at the same time to read it. But again, it's hard to talk about sequels, but I read it, I give it 5 out of 5 stars, and I'm so excited to talk about it with my group of friends that I have. And then the 12th and final book that I have for the month of October is Horrid by Katrina and Leno. I give this one a 4 out of 5 stars. This wasn't a favorite of mine. It actually put me in a reading slump that I just found out today. Like, I've been trying to read some books that I will have on my TBR and just can't get into them. So I believe this book gave me a reading slump. This one I kind of was disappointed by. This follows our main character named Jane North, and she loses her father at the very beginning of this book, and so she moves from California to Maine, and there's this haunted house in Maine, and she lives in this North Manor is what it's called, from everyone who knows what that building is. I don't even know if it's a real building or not, but like the people in this town know what that building is what I was trying to say. But I kind of wasn't a big fan of this one. This was my first book by the author. The writing felt repetitive. The character was weird. Every time she would get mad or angry, she would go into her room, take a book off her bookshelf, and tear a page out and eat the page like it's food. I thought that was a bit weird. I cringe every time she did that. I was like, no. My book-loving heart was just like, no, don't do that. So, this is like an interesting book, but everyone said it was like spooky, but the only time it was actually spooky was like some of the bathroom scenes that happen in here, which is hard to talk about because I don't want to spoil it, but I do want to do a book review for this one, so maybe I'll do a book review of this one sometime soon. So I give this one a 4 out of 5 stars. It wasn't my favorite Owl Crate that I read, but I do want to keep it because it has a pretty cover. And then the final book I didn't finish in the month of October. I started this towards literally right on Halloween, which was a bad time to start. So I'm hoping to finish this in November sometime soon. And that is Vampires Never Get Old, Tales with Fresh Bites. Stories by Samira Ahmed, Daniel Clayton, Tessa Granton, Heidi Helge, Julie Murphy, Mark Oshiro, Rebecca Rowan-Hurst, Laura Ruby, V.E. Schwab, and Kayla Whaley, and edited by Zordoria Cadario and Natalie C. Parker. I am in the middle of this. Like I said, I'm only like 50 pages into this. I don't know if you can see my bookmark. I'm 50 pages into this, so I'm only on like the 3rd story, but I can tell that I will love this short story just because of how fast the first 2 books, or the first 2 stories were. I haven't got to V.E. Schwab's story yet because I'm the most excited for that. But yeah, this is what I'm currently reading. I'm also currently reading another book. I'm currently reading On the Come Up by Angie Thomas. I'm also reading this as my audiobook. I was supposed to be buddy reading this with my friend Heather, but she finished this without even telling me. So these are my 2 main current reads. And I'm also reading, I don't want to get it because it's over there, but it's The Dreadful Tale of Prosper Redding, or no, The Last Life of Prince Alistair by Alexandra Bracken, the sequel to The Dreadful Tale of Prosper Redding. That is the book I'm reading for Believathon, which is happening this month. So yeah, I'm talking about my current reads in here and my October wrap-up. So thank you guys so much for watching. All of these clips are really long, so sorry if you hate long videos, but I'll talk to you guys later. Let me know which books of these have you read in the month of October. If you read any of these, let me know your thoughts and feelings down below. And I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.